We live?
Yeah.
Okay, طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we came back safe and sound from the United Kingdom. Another successful trip and tour was the third, completing the UK HD trilogy. The trip, walillah alhamd, was action-packed. We ask Allah to accept it from us all. The support and the love from the disciples there was tremendous. Every masjid, every center, walillahi alhamd. Our group or gang or band or entourage, there's a lot going on as well, as you can see in some of the videos and some of the vlogs. May Allah rectify all of our affairs. Allahumma ameen. It's good to be back home, but the trip, we give glad tidings to each and every viewer or watcher, was an immense success. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful to Allah for that. London, Newcastle, Sheffield, Bradford, all of the different cities and towns that we visited. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. May Allah reward the brothers and sisters well there and here for their support and for their love, for their following, and everything else. Jazakumullahu khairan. So now, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, let's get back to Sahihain, Al-Lu'lu' wa Marjan, hadith number 609. It says, باب الحث على الصدقة ولو بالقليل ولا تمتنعوا من القليل لاحتقاره. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال يا نساء المسلمات أو يا نساء المسلمات هكذا لا تحقرن جارة لجارتها ولو فرسنا شاة ولو فرسنا شاة. It says باب الحث, or it says باب الحث على الصدقة ولو بالقليل. There's another chapter speaking on the admonishment, the exhortation, the recommendation to give sadaqah. As we explained many times before, to give sadaqah. Walau bil qalil, even if it's a little bit. If you only have a little bit, or if it's something which isn't that significant, or that major, or that expensive, or brand name, or it's not that tasty, it's not that delicious, it's not that pleasing, give it. If that's all that you have. Al-hath. So the inspiration to do that. It then says, وَلَا تَمْتَنِعُ مِنَ الْقَلِيلِ لِاحْتِقَارِهِ. And it says, وَلَا تَمْتَنِعُ. This ta here is speaking about a third person female, a singular female. Because that's what the hadith is speaking on. A woman who's giving charity to her neighbor. Is that even if it's something small, minute, and insignificant, do not scorn it. Do not overlook it. Khairan inshallah. Hadith number 609 is reported by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, O Muslim women, none of you should look down upon the gift sent by her she-neighbor, even if it were the trotters of the sheep, fleshless part of legs. The translation says, O Muslim women, none of you should look down upon the gift sent by her she-neighbor. لا تحقرن جارة لجارتها. That's this translation, is that the Prophet ﷺ is forbidding the one who receives the gift from her she-neighbor, the female neighbor. A woman lives next door, Sister Fulana gives her a gift. The one who receives the gift should not look down upon the gift. That's the translation here. But the chapter heading is the exact what? Opposite. The chapter heading is speaking on that the one who's giving the gift, not to look down upon the gift. Everyone understand this? So we have a glitch here between the translation of the hadith and between the chapter heading. The chapter heading says, Al-hathu ala sadaqa, encourage him to give charity, even if it's a qalil. Right? It then says, وَلَا تَمْتَنِعُ مِنَ الْقَلِيلِ لِاحْتِقَارِهِ. And a person, it says, should not stop giving this amount of charity because of looking down on it. That's both of those are speaking on the what? The giver, and not the one who's being given. And the hadith is translated, it says, none of you should look down upon the gift sent by her she-neighbor, even if it were the trotters of the sheep. a trifle, bones, little piece of cartilage, barely any meat or fat on this piece of shank from the sheep. Everybody clear on this? So the translation of the hadith and the chapter heading is a little off. Everybody clear on this or not? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, وهذا النهي عن الاحتقار نهي للمعطية المهدية ومعناه لا تمتنع جارة من الصدقة والهدية لجارتها لاستقلالها واحتقارها الموجود عندها بل تجود بما تيسر وإن كان قليلا كفرسنا شاة وهو خير من العدم وقد قال الله تعالى فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا النار ولو بشق تمرة. He says here, listen carefully to what Nawawi says in the interpretation of Sahih Muslim. He says this prohibition is for the mu'tiyah and the muhdiyah. It's for the female who is giving. So that translation of the hadith is incorrect according to Nawawi. That the Prophet is not forbidding the one who receives it, but he's forbidding the one who is wishing to give. The woman who's giving the charity. The woman who's giving the gift, right? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, and this means that if there's a woman who has another female neighbor, she shouldn't prevent herself from giving her female neighbor some type of charity, some type of good, even if it's something which is small and little, because the one who gives it doesn't consider it to be anything of quality. The one who's giving it, or the one who wishes to give it, she doesn't consider it to be anything of value and worth. I can't give you this. I can't give Abdullah this tea because it's really not that good. The tea isn't that good to my liking, so I'm not going to give you a cup. But in actuality, it may be. You may like it, and if you don't like it, it's still what? Sadaqah. It's still sadaqah. Everybody clear on this? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala then says, and it's better than nothing. Khayrun min al-adam. It's better than nothing. He then says, Allah Azza wa Jal has told us, obviously in Surah Al-Zalzalah, Allah says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. Whoever does good, whoever works good, mithqala dharratin, good which is so small, so minute, like an ant, or like a grain, piece of a seed, a mustard seed, or an atom, different ways of translating dharra, yarahu, he will certainly see it. You'll see it on the day of judgment. The Prophet ﷺ, furthermore, he has stated, ittaqun nara walau bishiqqi tamra. Protect yourselves from hell, even if it's half of a date. I don't have a box of dates to give you, the finest dates, ajwa dates, or sukkari dates, or rutab dates. وَلَوْ بِشِقِّ تَمْرَةٍ, half of a date. You fear Allah even if it was half of a date. Moving forward. قال القاضي هذا تأويله الظاهر وهو تأويل مالك لإدخاله هذا الحديث في باب الترغيب في الصدقة. قال ويحتمل أن يكون نهيا للمعطى عن الاحتقار. He says that Al-Qadi Iyad, Nawawi's predecessor and Sharh Muslim, the Maliki commentator, he says this interpretation is the most obvious interpretation. This is the most obvious interpretation. Is that the Prophet is speaking to who? The Mu'tiyah, the one who's giving it. And he says, and that was also the interpretation adopted by Imam Malik. Whereas Malik put this in his Muwatta in the chapter of At-Targhib, the inspiration to give sadaqah. He says there is another interpretation, another possible interpretation, which is the prohibition to the what? Al-Mu'ta, is the one who gets the gift. Not to do what? Look down upon it. You gave me this trifling stuff. You gave me this nasty stuff. You gave me this little tiny bit of stuff. You only gave me this one bag of stuff. It's prohibited as well. And you should say what? Jazakallahu khairan. Thank you. Everybody understand this or not? So therefore, the translation of the hadith is not necessarily incorrect, but it is inconsistent with the what? The chapter heading. You understand this? The interpretation of hadith is not necessarily what? Incorrect, but it is inconsistent. And if you want to adopt one interpretation, then that should be the same in the chapter heading and the same in the what? And the hadith as well. For him now, everyone understand the problem here and how the translator fell into this glitch. Rahimahullah, Allah have mercy upon him. Khairan inshallah. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, he goes on to explain the part of the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya nisa al-muslimin, or it says, Ya nisa al-muslimat, Ya nisa al-muslimat, the different i'rab of the word nisa. He says, في إعرابه ثلاثة أوجه أصحها وأشهرها نصب النساء وجر المسلمات على الإضافة. قال الباجي وبهذا رويناه عن جميع شيوخنا بالمشرق ومن باب إضافة الشيء إلى نفسه والموصوف إلى صفته والعام إلى الأخص كمسجد الجامع وجانب الغربي ولدار الآخرة. وإن الكوفيين جائز على ظاهره وأن البصريين يقدرون فيه محذوفا أي مسجد المكان الجامع وجانب المكان الغربي ولدار الحياة الآخرة. وتقدر هنا يا نساء الأنفس المسلمات أو الجماعات المؤمنات إلى آخره. طيب, let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 30. باب فضل إخفاء الصدقة. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال 7 يظلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله الإمام العادل والشاب نشأ في عبادة ربه ورجل قلبه معلق في المساجد ورجلان تحابا في الله اجتمع عليه وتفرق عليه ورجل طلبته امرأة ذات منصب وجمال فقال إني أخاف الله ورجل تصدق أخفى حتى لا تعلم شماله ما تنفق يمينه ورجل ذكر الله خاليا ففاضت عيناه. Chapter 30 says the superiority of charity given secretly. The superiority of charity given secretly. Now let's ask ourselves the question. Before we move on to the next chapter, Abdul Qawi, is it best to give a little bit of charity or to just wait until you get something better if you think and feel that the person will be offended and disrespected by your charity? You go out to dinner, you bring me back half of a sandwich wrapped up. You say, here, Mufti, tfaddal. Give the half. Tell you, what you think, Khalid? Or let's say somebody that you're not cool with, or you don't know. Give him the half. You can give him both. What you think, Abdullah? Wait and give him something better. Especially if somebody that you don't know, they may be like, what is... so like, you think I'm a bum? You think I'm poor? You think I'm hungry or something? What you think, Sheikh? You wait until you give him a hole. What you think, Sheikh?
Yeah, you have to read the person's psychologically.
You got to look at the person. Is he going to get upset? Or is he going to be, oh, cool, good looking out. You was thinking about me. It also depends on what type of sandwich it is. Half of a cheesesteak versus a hero, a roll or something, huh? Tayyib, you gotta read the person. Tayyib, you have 3 views here. One view says give him the half. The second view says what? Wait until you can give him something better, because he's going to get offended, he's going to take it personal. And the third says look at the person. If the person is okay with it, bismillah, he looks a little hungry. Mufti, he looks just a little hungry tonight. Or if he says no, he's going to get mad or he's not going to take it, then don't give it to him. Very interesting issue here. And you have to take this in consideration. Because you may give somebody some sadaqah, and because of the person or the time or you, it could possibly turn into something what? Worse. Another example of this is giving something or being generous to a guest. Should you invite somebody over your house and all you have is water and tea, or water and dates and tea, coffee and dates? Or should you wait until you have some more food? Say the UK. We go to the masjid, we do the class. Our brother says, please come over my house. You would honor me. Please come over my house. So we drive for 30 minutes to get to his house, and he gives us what? A date and a little small thing of Nescafe. Some instant coffee. What's going to be the fa'idah versus the harm? Abdullah. Depends on the culture. Okay, let's say America. Okay, but let's say America. Khalid's like, I beg to differ. His face is, I beg to differ. That's not my culture. I want to eat. So, what you think, Abdul Khalid? You understand the problem, though? The ishkal? It's like he's trying to play us. Somebody going to say, what? Oh, he invited us over here and gave us this. He's trying to play us. But if it was this type of sheikh, or if it was an Arab sheikh, he would give him what? Lamb and rice, huh? Lahm. And when see where the problem can go? What you think, sheikh?
I think you just
Give what you got,
give what you got,
and you take it how you want.
because you never know if you have the opportunity to see the person.
And let alone this is the sunnah. It's not about your opinion or your view or your culture. Sheikh Khan, you see the problem?
Crystal clear.
Crystal. Right. All right. Let's move forward. It says, Fadli, أو باب فضل إخفاء الصدقة. The superiority of charity given secretly. Now, this word superiority can mean one or two things. It can mean that giving the charity in secret is better than giving it in public. Or it can mean the excellence, the virtue of giving charity in public, and also the virtue of giving charity in secret. Everyone understand the difference here? Or the concept? It can mean one or two things. Interpretation number one, afdaliyatu. The superiority meaning that it is what? Better. Instead of giving it publicly and openly. And the second interpretation in English is that it is a virtue. It's a good thing to do. The superiority of prayer, the excellence of prayer. The superiority of Hajj, the virtue, the merit of what? Hajj. Everyone understand this? So, here, before we get into the hadith, what is the ruling on this? Is it best to give charity publicly or privately? What do you think, Sheikh? Huh? What if a brother says the sadaqah box is the bid'ah, and not only is it bid'ah, but it's a means of showing off?
So there's an argument for both.
Argument for both. This is hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ did what? Gave in public. And he commanded the people to do what? Give in public. So therefore, the harmony between this and that will be what? Both of them are virtuous. And or? What should the servant do? Give his money in public? Sign his name up? I'm a contributor to this mosque every month? Or should he just put an anonymous name? Or says, please don't publicize my name. I don't want my name on the board. I don't want my name in that pie chart. Whatever's safest for you. Or what about what's most beneficial for the masjid? They see, motivate the people. He did it, so now I can what? Let me do it. Type. This is a perfect example of detail. And that every ruling is not what? Just black and white. But it's tafsir. Depending on the situation. The formless, right? The formless. Type. Hadith 610 is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah the Exalted will give shade to 7 on the day when there is no shade but His. These 7 persons are a just ruler, a youth who has been brought up in the worship of Allah, a man whose heart is attached to the mosques, 2 persons who love each other only for Allah's sake, and they meet in part in Allah's cause only, a man who refuses the call of a charming woman of noble birth for illegal sexual intercourse with her and says, I'm afraid of Allah, a man who gives charitable gifts so secretly that his left hand does not know what his right hand has given, and a person who remembers Allah in seclusion and his eyes become flooded with tears. The highlighting point from the hadith is clear, is that the one who gives charity so secretly that the Prophet ﷺ said his left hand doesn't know what his right hand spins. Meaning, if his hand doesn't know what the other one spins, let alone the actual person or organization or etc. That's the highlighting point from the hadith. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us is that this man or woman will be from among those who receive Allah's shade on the day which there is no shade. Meaning, it's going to be a means of protection on that day. A means of safety and a means of salvation. And this hadith, aslun fi fadl sadaqah, is one of the most fundamental proofs from the sunnah regarding the excellence of spending in the cause of Allah. That's the mahallu shahid. And that is the connection between the hadith and the chapter heading. Clear on this? Everyone understand this? Right, moving forward. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this chapter in the Sharh Sahih Muslim, first and foremost, it's an issue here that Nawawi speaks about. Allah al-Musta'an, an issue problematic to many or to some, and that is the issue of the shade of Allah. What's meant by the shade of Allah? Fi dhillihi, Allah's shade. What's meant by that? In this issue, the interpretation of it in Arabic and in English is going to be a branch of the other issues of the unseen and the other issues of Allah's attributes and Allah's actions between the different groups and sects from among those who all face the Qibla. Everyone understand this? What's meant by fi dhillihi, the shade of Allah? Is what's meant by this dhill al-arsh, the shade of the throne? The shade of Allah Azza wa Jalla's throne. And if that's what's meant, then some people, they come and they say that would mean that the sun from which the people need shade is now what? Above Allah. They say that the sun is above Allah and Allah is beneath the sun, and from Allah being beneath the sun, there produces a shade. Everyone understand this? Then there are those who say, fi dhillihi, in his shade, dhillun yakhluquhu Allah ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah. There's a shade that Allah will create and make on the day of judgment. And then others, they say, is that fi dhillihi, yani naqatullah, masjidullah, okay, sabilillah. They say it's mudafa in Allah, is attributed to Allah, not meaning that it is one of his attributes or something like this, but it's idafatu tashrif, etc. Different interpretations that they give. Whether you say that it is the shade of the throne or not, whether there are hadiths, riwayat, versions of this hadith that prove that or not, that's besides the point. Because a person is still going to find the other issues problematic. Seeing Allah, Allah speaking on the day of judgment, and the other sifat of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Everyone understand this? So whether it's mushkil, the text is problematic or not, whether you take this interpretation or not, your usul are still going to be your usul. Usul of Ahl Hadith, or usul of Maturidiyya, Ash'ariyya, or whatever other usul that you have, of deviant usul that are not from the correct, organic, orthodox way, with regards to understanding the verses and hadiths that speak about the attributes of Allah subhanahu azza wa jalla. Whatever name or title is given, Ash'ari, Maturidi, Habashi, whatever name is given to the set and the collection of rules and principles that are unorganic, that are GMO, that haven't come from the pure, original understanding and practice of the Quran and the Sunnah, the way of the Salaf al-Salih, the way of Ahl al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, the way of Ahl al-Hadith, the way of the Athar, and the people of the Athar. Alright? So at the end of the day, that's a discussion. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, like any other issue pertaining to Allah's attributes and things like this of the unseen, he quotes from the previous commentators and the previous scholars who came before him. And unfortunately, Nawawi, may Allah have mercy upon him, he falls into some type of ta'wil. Even if he doesn't make it himself, but he quotes those who made the ta'wil. And those who said incorrect things, trying to run from a problematic issue. The sun being above Allah, the sun is supposed to be beneath Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can the sun be above Allah? And how can the shade be made from the sun? Is Allah not the most high? Al-Aliul A'la, the loftiest? Are you understand this? And we know that there is a correct understanding of this text. And if there's a hadith, and if there's a riwayah, that the Prophet ﷺ says, Dhillil Arsh, the shade of the throne. If there's an authentic version that states that, فَيَجِبُ الْمَصِيرُ إِلَى هَذَا, then that's the correct interpretation. And what's meant by fi dhillihi is dhil arshihi. And it does not mean, وَلَا يَلْزَمُ, it does not necessitate that the sun is above Allah. And Allah is restricted. And Allah, this place and the other things of batil that they say. لَا يَلْزَمُ. And that's because Allah Azza wa Jal is not restricted by the things that we are restricted to. He is ala kulli shayin qadir. He does what he wants to do, whatever he wants to do it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if the Prophet ﷺ told us that Allah is the most high, and if he told us that the people will be on the shade of the throne, then that's what it is. Then that's what it is. That's the correct aqeedah of al-Islam. Wallahu ta'ala, and that's in brief, of course. No, rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم الإمام العادل قال القاضي هو كل من إليه نظر في شيء من مصالح المسلمين من الولاة والحكام وبدأ به لكثرة مصالحه وعموم نفعه، ووقع في أكثر نسخ الإمام العادل وفي بعضها الإمام العدل وهما صحيحان. Last but not least says, were there any modern day scholars well known who made an interpretation like this and fell into a mistake? And obviously this will be counted as a what type of mistake? A mistake in what? Aqidah. Everyone understand this? It's from the ghaibiyat, the unseen. Yani, that's something that the people who rush to talk about people and refute people and to determine the abode of someone in the hereafter, hellfire, paradise, a person, Allah is angry with them because I said so, and this scholar said so. It's a lesson that they should take from this. And you can't take from this person because he made a khata. Even if that mistake wasn't even in the what? Aqidah. And then later on they'll turn into an aqidah. I remember once I was in Virginia. A brother, he walked up to me on the porch of the masjid, this was years ago. And he said, oh yeah, I heard you were coming out here to do classes, but didn't you make didn't you say this statement and you said this about jarh wa ta'deel and blah 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 blah. He said, so the Salaf, they never took from people who made any mistake in aqidah. So I said to the brother, first time I met him, I said, so this is an issue of aqidah? He said, well, minhaj, just as good, it doesn't matter. And then he stormed off the porch. So the people oftentimes, they make a rule and the actual application of the rule doesn't even apply. They say, oh, don't sit with this person because he's an incorrect aqidah, right? And the person that they're warning from and they're talking about never even made any what? Errors in aqidah. Regardless whether those are errors or not. But your premise is not even applicable here because it's not even a mistake in what? Aqidah. Everyone understand this? Let alone from other scholars whom you do take from who have had some errors or mistakes in Aqidah. We're not talking about Nawawi ibn Hajar. We're talking about modern day famous mashayikh, whose names we won't mention right now. Okay? And we're trying to drive a point home. Not to talk about the mistake of any alim, but to show the hypocrisy and the triple standard of these people who have ruined the name of the Salaf. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. طيب, he says, Al-Imam al-Adil, the just ruler. Qadr Iyal says, anyone who has something to do with the benefit of the Muslims, the masalih al-Muslimin, the affairs of the Muslims, whether it is the Khalifa, whether it is the judge, whether it is this type of ruler or this type of leader, anyone who's responsible for some group of Muslims. قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشاب نشأ بعبادة الله هكذا في جميع النسخ نشأ بعبادة الله والمشهور في رواية هذا الحديث نشأ في عبادة الله وكلاهما صحيح ومع رواية الباء نشأ متلبسا للعبادة أو مصاحبا لها أو ملتصقا بها. And then he goes on to speak on the other people here whom Allah Azza wa Jalla will shade on that day. And we have the virtue of being a just ruler. And if this proves that this is the virtue of the just ruler, it means that it's a severe punishment for being a tyrannical ruler. A severe punishment for being an oppressive ruler and not ruling correctly. Tayyib? If this is the virtue of the good ruler, then it also means it's a dispraise of being a what? A bad ruler on any level of rulership. On any level of rulership. The servant who grows up worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the slave, the young man or the young woman, this is a virtue of being a young Muslim and staying a young Muslim and preserving your Islam. Preserving your Islam. And if this is the virtue of the young Muslim, then what do you think is the virtue of the one who raises that young Muslim and who makes it possible for them to grow up in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then we have the man whose heart is connected to the masjid, meaning prayer, i'tikaf, praying in the masjid, sitting in the masjid, visiting the masjid. He loves the masjid. And when he's outside of the masjid, he feels like a fish out of water. وَرَجُلَانِ تَحَابَا فِي اللَّهِ, and the two men who meet upon Allah, love and leave upon that. مَعْنَهُ اجْتَمَعَ عَلَى حُبِّ اللَّهِ وَافْتَرَقَ عَلى حُبِّ اللَّهِ أي كان سبب اجتماعهما حب الله واستمر على ذلك حتى تفرقا من مجلسهما وهما صادقان في حب كل واحد منهما صاحبه لله تعالى حال اجتماعهما وافتراقهما. وفي هذا الحديث الحث على التحابي في الله وبيان عظم فضله وهو من المهمات فإن الحب في الله والبغض في الله من الإيمان وهو بحمد الله كثير يوفق له أكثر الناس أو من وفق له. He says what this means is the reason why they came together was the love of Allah. And they continued upon that until their majlis ended. We're going to meet to do something for the sake of Allah. I love you for Allah's sake. We sit and then we stay upon it until our meeting is what? Done. Whether our lives are over or we'll never see each other again or I'll see you for the next salah or the next class. Everyone understand this? He says, and this hadith shows us the virtue of loving for the sake of Allah and its tremendous virtue, tremendous superiority. And it is very important, he says. Many people, he says, Walillah alhamd, they have the success to do this. And doing this obviously is a manifestation of Iman. Loving a person regardless of their race, their age, what they look like, how much money they have, how tall, how short, how light, how dark, how thin, how thick, how rich, how poor. But you love them because they're Muslim. You love them because of their Iman. That's a manifestation that you have strong Iman in your heart. And the opposite also means the opposite. When you look at a Muslim, you look at a person only for the outward sense. Oh, you're from Guyana, so I can't love you that much. You come from this city, I can't love you that much. You come from this place, I really don't love you that much. Your skin is this color, your skin is that color, I really don't what? Love you that much. That's a problem that many of us suffer from, of our culture, tribalism, racism, colorism, sexism. We just gauge people by the outward form. And we don't actually look at a person's insides. And the strongest and the best insides is Iman, is Islam. What more of a friend could you want except for someone who prays with you, fasts with you, makes hajj with you? Someone who sees life like what? Like you see life. The purpose of life is not to get a big giant house on a mortgage. The purpose of life is not to drive the fastest, flyest car. The purpose of life is not to have as many women or men or money or brand names as you can get. That's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to die upon La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And right now, we're not going to the basketball court. We're not going to buy these clothes. We're going to make asr. And we're going to do this class. And everything that we do of permissible things and fun is in the cause, in that. Everyone understand this? That's not the purpose of the what? Of the trip. And then that's on the side. So being with someone that sees life like you see life is extremely important. Compatibility. The greatest compatibility is compatibility of what? Of Iman, of faith. وقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم ورجل دعته امرأة ذات منصب وجمال فقال إني أخاف الله. قال القاضي يحتمل قوله أخاف الله باللسان ويحتمل قوله في قلبه ليزجر نفسه وخص ذات المنصب والجمال لكثرة الرغبة فيها وعسر حصولها وهي جامعة للمنصب والجمال لا سيما وهي داعية إلى نفسها طالبة لذلك قد أغنت عن مشاق التوصل إلى مراودة ونحوها فالصبر عنها لخوف الله تعالى وقد دعت إلى نفسها مع جميعها المنصب والجمال من أكمل المراتب وأعظم الطاعات فرتب الله تعالى عليه أن يظله في ظله وذات المنصب هي ذات الحسب والنسب الشريف ومعنى دعته أي دعته إلى الزنا بها هذا هو الصواب في معناه وذكر القاضي في احتمالين أصحهما هذا والثاني أنه يحتمل أنها دعته لنكاحها فخاف العجز عن القيام بحقها أو أن الخوف من الله تعالى شغله عن لذات الدنيا وشهواتها. Then it says a man who is invited by a woman who is noble in birth and beautiful in appearance. He refuses by saying, I fear Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned this and didn't just mention any other woman because this is something which is rare and something which is difficult and something which a lot of men want. A lot of men want this type of woman. Her father is well known, her family is well known, her tribe is well known, her city is well known, and she's extremely gorgeous. She's beautiful. So it's something that many men want, and it's something that is oftentimes difficult to achieve. Difficult what? to obtain and to achieve. Thirdly, she's the one who wants him. It's not him looking for her, searching for her, the fear of getting rejected. She is the one looking for him now. It's even worse now. There are 3 strikes against you. So all of the problems of getting her are now out the window. So having the patience not to be with this woman is a manifestation of your iman. And that is why Allah will put this person in the shade on the day of judgment. Tayyib. And what's meant by this hadith? Da'athu, she calls him, meaning she calls him to make zina. That's what's meant by this hadith. There's another interpretation, and that is she calls him to marry her. Da'athu imra'atun dhatu mansabin wa jamalin. Is that this beautiful and noble woman calls the man to get married. And he says, Inni akhaf Allah. I'm afraid of Allah. لأنه, because he's afraid, I can't marry this woman. She's too noble. I can't give her what? Her noble rights. Everyone understand this? I can't give her what? Her noble rights. Well, I don't have enough what? I don't got enough cheese, enough dough, to take care of her. You know, I'm gonna be broke by what? We going to the restaurant, just the parking, the reservation, the soup and the salad. My what? That's all the money I got. Let alone the main course, let alone the dessert, let alone drinks, let alone tip. Everyone understand this? A person is afraid that he can't what? He can't fulfill her needs and her rights. Or she's just so beautiful. What can I do for her? A guy like me, right? Everyone understand this? Or her family status is too high. Her family will not accept me. Even though she wants me, but I know I can't give what she's accustomed to. And Noe says this isn't the correct interpretation. The correct interpretation that is calling him to what? Zina. But it is interesting to know this. And the scholars of Islam, they mention these issues pertaining to compatibility and getting married. Is it permissible for a poor man to marry a wealthy woman? Or even if you're not poor, but the money she's getting is what? It's on a whole another time zone. A whole other stratosphere, the money she's got. You have a little bit, How are you guys going to be what? Compatible. How will you provide for her? Will you put her in a house according to your means or her means? So some scholars, some of them say, is that a rich man and a poor wife or vice versa shouldn't get married. And they say that in most cases it's going to lead to problems later on in the marriage. Not all the ulama say this, but what? Some of them, they hold that view. Khairan, inshallah. We want to stop here tonight. Hopefully we'll finish the rest of this hadith or move on to the next hadith or the next chapter in the next class. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.